The time of the year is here again for the world to shine a light on the rights, needs, and dreams of refugees so that they can not only survive but thrive. This week on Our Voices, we will focus on the resources available for refugees by refugees, especially for women and girls. We will also highlight refugee women who are championing change inside and outside refugee camps. Hello, I am Oriani Tangishaka here with my co-host, Seminish Yakoye. How are you doing, Seminish?
I'm good. How are you? Welcome back.
Thank you so much.
We did not have you for the last few weeks.
Yes, I missed you guys.
Yeah, we missed you too. But you came back with a good topic.
Yes, a very good
Timely
topic.
one.
I'm so happy about this topic because I do come from a region that's plagued by war, and so I know about, the unrest that causes people to move out of their homes and flee. And as journalists, we cover a lot of the refugee stories regularly. Do you have one that we can get started with?
Oh, I mean, you are right. We report on refugee-related issues all the time here at VOA, and I've had a chance to talk to different refugees on different occasions. But I want to start by saying that, refugees who live in a camp, especially supporting children, young children, and being able to sustain in a camp, it makes all of them a hero.
Yes.
Leaving your home country and going to a foreign country without knowing what you'll expect, what you'll find there, it's a very scary risk, and that is where the bravery starts for all of them.
I agree.
But having said that, there are refugees who do extraordinary things and who become a success story. And we have reported on women who train themselves in the camp and become hairdressers, shop owners, mechanics, and and open job for others.
Right.
But I specifically remember the story of this guy, Masfan Getahun. He's an Ethiopian refugee who was in Kakuma camp in Kenya. Okay. And they used to call him the camp millionaire. Oh. And that's because he started from, just simple cleaning job in the camp and became a shop owner that earned him more than $10,000 per month.
Wow.
Yes, and with that, he was able to also help more than, if I remember the number correctly, over 1,500 young children to have access to to education.
Wow. Talk about for refugees, by refugees.
This is, I think, the perfect example for that.
Wow. So there is hope.
When
people pull out their resilience out of them, there is hope. Wow. Yeah. Amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Well, we are commemorating Refugee Day 2024, but as journalists, you know that we definitely cover this topic a lot of times. And we are going to dive deep into it and looking at how, UN takes this situation seriously. Africa faces many situations similar to that of Syria and Ukraine. And the United Nations Commission for Refugees it says that sub-Saharan Africa hosts more than 26% of the world's refugees. UNHCR also says that the triggers include conflicts, civil unrest, environmental disaster, oppressive regimes, and concomitant abuse of human rights. UN also points out that countries with the highest refugee burdens on the continent are Ethiopia, Kenya, which have more than 500,000 people, Chad and Uganda with more than 300,000 refugees, Cameroon and South Sudan with around 250,000 people. This is just a simple glimpse of the hotspots where the lives of women and girls are in everyday challenge, requiring resilience as well as support from others and us as well as themselves within the camps. Let's dive right deep into this topic.
Yes, yeah, definitely, Orion, you are right. And it has been 32 years since Fatuma Diriye and her family arrived at the Dadaab refugee camp after fleeing civil war in Somalia. Despite challenge, she attended school and went on to lead a group of women in generating income to fend for their families. Fatuma's story of endurance and resilience after an investment was made on her accelerated progress in her community. From Dadaab refugee camp in Kenya, Sadia Swale tells us more about Fatuma's story.
When Fatuma came to the Dadaab refugee camp in Kenya in 1992, she saw few opportunities to thrive and knew something had to be done.
Here in the refugee setup, there's no chance to get work, and the people, they don't have capital to start business for their own. We came with an idea, since most of us had family, and let us work together and at least produce something which we can sell and get income later.
That led to the birth of the group Nyota for Samo, Swahili and Somali words meaning star and handwork, at the Hagadera refugee camp. Fatuma is one of the founders and now serves as the chairperson of this collective of about 50 women from the refugee and host community who come together daily.
It's part of doing both weaving and tie.
Here they learnt basket weaving and how to make tie and dye prints for dresses and headscarves. Their products sell for about $15 to $20. Although they were helping to take care of their families and community, some of the women faced the sting of cultural norms.
Some of our women here, their husbands are not comfortable of doing this work because he's saying, you go every morning and you come evening, I don't know what you are doing.
It is such situations that lay foundation of spaces such as this one, a women's center where they can learn new skills such as tailoring, baking, tie and dye, soap making and even farming of drought-resistant crops.
IRC together with our partners construct to create a safe space for women and girls. Despite all the challenges that they may be going through, all the traumas that they may have experienced, they have a space where they can come and call their own.
Halima Mahmood came to this space after she completed primary school and her family couldn't afford to send her to high school. She is now a mentor in a program called Girls Shine, spending her free time speaking to other young women about safety and making informed life choices.
We normally inform the younger girls, like anyone who is willing, like to go back to school, they can go back to the school.
The Dadaab refugee complex is made of 3 camps, Hagadera, Dagahale and Ifo. War in Somalia and a regional drought have pushed the number of residents higher in the recent years, causing an influx in the camps. Kenya's Department of Refugees Services manages the camps, supported by the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. UNHCR says more than half of the refugees under the age of 59 are women.
We engage, first of all, to understand both the national, county and sub-county legal regime that facilitates the empowerment of women. We work together to ensure that those practices that inevitably lead to the discrimination of the girl child or the women are not carried on.
As the world commemorates the International Women's Day, for the women here at Dadaab, the work of women's spaces and groups such as Nyota for Samo helps them become more resilient and able to look to the future.
I have to show the other women, at least you have to be strong women to overcome the problem in life.
Saida Swale, VOA News, Dadaab, Kenya.
Wonderful story of refugees supporting one another. Well, to learn more about resilience and how female refugees support one another, we've invited Mary Maker, UNHCR Goodwill Ambassador and co-founder of Elimisha Kakuma, a program that provides access to higher education opportunities for high school graduates in Kakuma refugee camp in Kenya. Mary, it's a pleasure to have you on Our Voices.
Hello, everybody. I'm so excited to be here today.
Thank you so much. Mary, it's such a great pleasure to have you. We've tried to have you on the show before, but it didn't work out, so we're so happy to have you. I'm going to go right into your experience as a refugee. I mean, you know, just tell us a little bit about your experience, especially that which really brought forth in you the desire and the dream to start Elimisha with your friends.
Well, I arrived in Kakuma refugee camp probably at the age of 3, and I arrived in this camp that currently has a population close to 300,000 refugees. And as a young kid that is going through war and trauma, education becomes like this safe space where I could go to and feel like, okay, things can be normal here, I could be okay. But the problem is, as much as education was being preached to me, it was a false promise. I see kids graduating high school and there is a dead end. Less than 1%. Literally in Kenya have access to tertiary education as refugees. You cannot access loans, you cannot access anything. So for me, education, as much as I was fighting for it, I knew there was a dead end. And so many refugees know about it, right? So we graduate and we stay in the camps and there's no way out. And the camp walls are disintegrated. I wanted to leave the camp so badly. So I did everything that I could in school. But after 4 years, that's when I got a scholarship. This is 4 years after graduating high school. I got a scholarship to go to Rwanda. And for the very first time, I am in a classroom where the ratio of teacher to student is literally that of 20 to 1. While in the camp, I used to be a teacher, not qualified. I taught over 100 students in a tiny classroom, no textbooks, no resources. I wasn't a trained teacher. So you can imagine, how do you win as a refugee in that kind of space?
Wow.
And in Rwanda, when I got into this program, I was given everything to actually make me win. And that really pushed me and my other 3 co-founders to want to replicate access in the camp.
I'm glad you had that opportunity, and probably that's why you started Elimisha to help children, refugee children you left behind in the camp. So tell us, how does this program by refugees for refugees work, and what difference has it made so far?
So with the program, we started in 2021, and we just wanted to start with 5 students. We trained them on how to apply for universities, like especially the Common App to U.S. universities. We had 100 applications. We ended up taking 12 students, and what we do, we give them like a 10 to 16 month prep, where we teach them critical thinking, being engaged in a classroom, touching the laptop for the very first time, actually setting them for success, not just accessing universities, but actually succeeding. We would go from one university to the other, like literally preaching, like, this is the best student for your school, and this is why you should take them. A B minus in the camp is an A, right? Considering all the challenges. And we started doing like that kind of advocacy on university campuses. All our 12 students got into university. They're currently going to the 3rd year of college. We have students getting into Ivy Leagues like Dartmouth, UC Berkeley, and we started seeing a wave of university being like, oh my God, these students could actually succeed. We can take as many students as possible.
Wow.
So with that kind of program in mind, currently we've placed over 30 students to universities in the US and Canada, and also in Europe. And it's mind-blowing to see that universities are actually willing to open their campuses to take refugee students. And our work as Elimisha Kakuma is to train and make sure that these students are ready for college and they get to succeed in college. But apart from that, the ripple effect that the students can create. So with our 30 students that are currently on campuses, we have students that have started their own nonprofits to actually mentor kids within the camp. One of our students goes to Calgary in Canada and has a program called Kakuma Empowerment Program that currently mentors over 500 girls within the camp. That's awesome. Mind-blowing.
That is very awesome. That's very awesome. Well, take us back to the moment where you actually graduated from this, higher education institution here in the United States. How did that feel? And what advice can you give the children there that can help them to really just have hope?
I think that moment was groundbreaking. That's how I see it, because for a girl like me that was scared in a refugee camp, knowing that there's no one that is going to ever invest in me, and if they do, it's very few people that ever think of refugees. For me to graduate, that was a big hope, not just for my family, for the entire camp, for people that look up on me, and for the refugee kids to know that it's not a dead end. I know it is a dead end, but it's possible. For universities to know that it is possible to actually give a glimpse of hope. For me to even start the nonprofit, it's me giving back. That if you open this pocket of hopes, they don't just die. They go ahead and spark more light within refugee camps. And I feel like I was able to reignite hope, because hope in refugee camps diminishes. Right?
Indeed.
You imagine you come to this refugee camp for 1 month, turns into 10 months, into 20 years, and you realize that you're going to die in the camp without anyone ever seeing you.
Indeed, your success, and we just saw your beautiful pictures from your graduation. That by itself inspires other refugees, that there is hope, as you said. Maybe can you give some tips or advice for refugees who are currently in refugee camps and probably are watching you and listening to you? Can you tell them how to support one another?
Oh, you don't need a lot of resources to start. I think that is one myth that we grow up. We grow up being given, and we forget that we have so much talent, so much resources within ourselves. So I feel like with the refugee, whatever idea is cooking in your mind, start it. started. Let them catch you moving. You know, I'm always like, let anyone catch you moving. So you got this, like, let's break those camp walls. Let's break those camp mentalities. And we know that we are also part of the society. We do belong.
Well, Mary, can you tell us a little bit about your experience as a UNHCR Goodwill ambassador?
It is a big thing to shoulder, because there's Mary and Mary's story, and I got out. I think that's one part that I'm really cognizant. Every time I'm giving a speech or like having to represent the 117 million displaced refugees around the world, I'm really cognizant that my experience as Mary is one story. There's different stories of Mary, of Naja, of Mahomet. It's a lot of refugees around the world, and I will never be able to exhaust every single person's story. So I'm always challenging the community to go up beyond the political, propaganda or whatever people feel about refugees, the dangers of the single story, to go past that and to really see refugees as a mother, as a father, as a doctor, as a teacher that wants to bring something to the community. And that's always my challenge, that, hey, I am a success story as a refugee, but how many millions never get out of the refugee camp?
Correct.
Right?
And
it's refugees, urban refugees, like, that never get out of that status.
I agree, Mary, and I challenge everyone to also watch your TED Talk, because it's so powerful. You've lost a lot, but you've also gained a lot, and I really enjoyed that talk. I'll watch it again as well, and it's really inspiring. Thank you so much, Mary, for taking the time to give us your insight, how important it is to support refugees, especially women and girls, and everyone else in the refugee camp, but especially women and girls. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Well, now it's time for a quick break. When we return, we'll meet Mrs. Lourena Gboeah, Program Director of Upwardly Global. We will discuss the value that refugees bring to new communities once they make it out of camps. Make sure to stay with us. In the meantime, as usual, we ask you to share your thoughts on this topic on our social media platforms at VOA Africa. We are on Facebook, Instagram, X, formerly known as Twitter. Don't forget to use the hashtag VOA Our Voices. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
In times of change, when the world seems uncertain and what we hear doesn't reflect what we see, we seek the truth. When we are told only part of the story, we lose trust. In moments of crisis, our dreams, hopes, and wishes for a better tomorrow depends on a free press. At Voice of America, we bring you the stories that people take risks to see. We connect the world and unite it with truth. At Voice of America, we show you the whole picture.
Health, wellness, sport, beauty, medical breakthroughs. Healthy Living cares about your well-being. What are the main health concerns in Africa and around the world? Find out the latest on coronavirus. Connect with our experts and ask them questions.
How long does the virus stay?
Join me, Linoch Mudu, in Washington, every week on Healthy Living, right here on VOA.
You're watching VOA's Red Carpet. My name is Jackson Vunganyi. Thank you so much for joining us each week right here on Red Carpet. We bring you the latest in
Welcome back. You are watching Our Voices. We are commemorating World Refugee Day 2024 by looking at what some refugees are doing not only to survive but also to thrive this year. Let's now hear from Ms. Lourena Gboeah, Program Director with Upwardly Global, which helps refugees who have made it out of camps gain valuable employment. Ms. Gboeah, thank you so much for being with us today. It's a pleasure having you.
Thank you.
So tell us, you were once a refugee yourself, right?
Yes, I am a former refugee from Liberia, West Africa. And I like to, whenever I share my story, I like to share it through the lens of my mom because I was so young. And for those who don't know, Liberia went through 14 years of civil war. And we lost over 100,000 people, and over half of the country were displaced, you know. Wow. And, you know, my dad is a pastor, so he had traveled to the U.S. right before the war started. So he left my mom and my siblings and I behind. And as you know, women and children bear the brunt of displacement when it comes to civil unrest. Correct. So after constant harassment from government soldiers, we were able to flee to the neighboring Ivory Coast. And then, so we stayed there for, I want to say about 2 years, and then we were later able to be resettled and reunited with my father, who was still in the U.S. Yeah, so I was pretty young when I came to the U.S.
So what was that like, integrating into a new community here in the U.S.? How, what was that experience like, and did it contribute to what you are doing now?
Awesome. So like I said, you know, it was in the early 90s when we got resettled. So I will say that during that time, there was really a lack of cultural competency in terms of, like, people didn't know why people were being resettled, the trauma that refugees faced. And although English is a first language in Liberia, we speak English with a heavy accent. So we were, you know, constantly teased and things like that. But I will say, with the help of ESL classes and also Hooked on Phonics.
I took those too.
Those resources really helped me, and also the support from guidance counselors in elementary school and high school. It really helped to shape my family's, you know, value of education, which also led me to being a first-generation college student.
Oh wow! Congratulations!
And thank you. And then, you know, yeah, with a master's degree later, and this is, you know, now I'm giving back with the work that I do through Upwardly Global, and also externally with another organization called Refugee Congress.
That's awesome. I mean, I agree when you say about how being teased and all of those integration challenges really can affect the child. I went through that as well, and I understand exactly what you mean. And my question is about really what can be done to eliminate discrimination against refugees once they're in these communities, because I think sometimes they don't realize that this is discrimination. A child can go through trauma just because of being harassed for their accents and things like that. So maybe on a policy level or on any level, what can be done to eliminate discrimination?
Absolutely. First and foremost, I will say on the line of, you know, the teasing and whatnot, you know, I think we have come far away, right? There's more education. And for refugee leaders like myself, you know, we're able to really, you know, educate the communities in which people are being resettled. Specifically, you know, Upwardly Global, we work with internationally educated refugees who come into the U.S. And we kind of like help break that myth of refugees are coming to take jobs, right? Okay. These are people who are educated, who are professionals in their country, but they're oftentimes under or unemployed due to a lack of language, a lack of a professional network. So we help those individuals who are, you know, of course, work authorized to gain skill-aligned roles that will really help them to thrive and also contribute back to their communities. That's so that helps to, you know, break some of that discrimination and those myths that, you know, refugees are asking for a hand up.
So you're like a bridge.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
You know, they're asking for handouts, but they're actually want a hand up. Yeah.
Right, I agree.
Sometimes we see conflicts like between refugees and host communities, like for example in South Africa, the xenophobia, or like in Ethiopia, Uganda, there is a competition for resources, and you know other issues bring conflicts between those two communities. So how does a program like yours help avoid such communities and, you know, facilitate better integration?
Well, so we like to look at integration in a more holistic way, and we tend to use the term inclusion, right? You know, we're helping refugees to be able to thrive in the communities in which they are being resettled and to also give back to those communities. So that kind of like, you know, is overall helping the community as a whole. Over the course of Upperly Global's existence, we've been able to place over 10,000 people into professional level roles, gaining a salary of at least $60,000. So that's something that,
in the US, that's pretty good.
Exactly.
Knowing that low-level jobs pays as low as 30, 20 per year, so that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But do you have challenges while you are, while giving these trainings for job? Do you have challenges, and how do you address them, especially here in the US?
Yeah, I would say some of those main challenges really do exist around, you know, those language barriers, right? Because you have people who come with so many skills, but then sometimes, you know, they lack the strong command of the English language.
So if you don't communicate them, then...
Exactly, and sometimes we might have to refer them out to English classes, or we also offer skilling programs that helps them to, you know, strengthen their English, to also help them to communicate the technicalities of the work that they, you know, are often looking for.
And also the culture, because I know that, you know, the culture in many countries are very conservative. They don't speak to people face to face. They're very, you know, a lot of humility. So I think a lot of training is also required for refugees that come from some of the countries that have a bit more conservative view on the world, I guess.
That is true, and that's what our coaching program offers. We provide one-on-one coaching to all of our job seekers. We help them with revamping their resume, teaching them job search strategies, how to build a professional network, and how to learn those nuances as you were speaking to.
To be go-getters.
Exactly.
Yes. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. Well, we have to come to an end for the show today. The time is very short, but we appreciate your insight and your work in the community.
It was a pleasure. Thank you.
For sure. Well, we want to thank our guests in New York, Mrs. Mary Maker, UNHCR Goodwill Ambassador and co-founder of Elimisha Kakuma, and Mrs. Lourena Gboeah, Program Director with Upwardly Global. It was such a pleasure. Now be sure to catch up on the latest episode of Our Voices on the VOA website at voaafrica.com and on our YouTube channel, where you can keep up with the latest news story around the world. Last but not least, on behalf of our editorial and production team on Our Voices, thanks and for tuning in. Until next time.